Shalom. Our Torah portion for this Sabbath is Chayei Sarah, and it opens with the 23rd chapter, verse 1 of the book of Genesis. Now, our Torah portion opens up with kind of a sad note. It is a sad note. Sarah, the first matriarch, the very first Jewish woman to walk the face of this earth, has died. And let me just use the word, let me just read you the Hebrew and then the English of the way this passing of this most remarkable woman is recorded. It says, V'hiyu Chayei Sarah mea shana ve'isrim shana ve'sheva shanim shnei Chayei Sarah. And it's translated as Sarah's lifetime. Some people translate this as Sarah lived. It can be translated either way, but let's go with Sarah's lifetime was 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years. Now that's an interesting way of talking about the lifespan of a person. 100 years, and 20 years, and 7 years. Rashi, the medieval commentator, picks up on this, asking the question, wouldn't it have been easier simply to say she lived 127 years? And he goes on to tell us that it was put in this way to teach us that there were these specific stages in her life. And he compares one to the other. When she was 100 years old, according to Rashi, she was as innocent as she was when she was 20 years old. He goes on to say that when she was 20, she had the beauty and the vitality and the innocence of a 7-year-old girl. And he goes on to say, Kulan shavin latova, that all of these stages in her life, they were all equal for goodness. Isn't that interesting? When she was a child, when she was a young woman, when she was an older woman, each one of these stages in her life was for good. That it meant that she had a certain innocence and a certain vitality and a certain wisdom about her throughout her life. Now, was all of her life good? Well, I suppose it depends on how you define the word good. It certainly wasn't easy. We don't know a lot about Sarah's early life. It's not told to us in the Torah, but we are told that when she was a mature woman, when her husband was 70 years old, God comes to her husband, appears to her husband, and tells him to uproot himself and his wife and the entire family from the only home that they had ever known, to go to a place, an unspecified place that God would reveal to them. Now, we have no record of the discussions between Sarah and Abraham. I can imagine that they might have been, rather loud and lively. We don't know whether she was a reluctant participant in this adventure, or whether she was an active, enthusiastic participant, but we do know that she did go. She did embrace this new stage in her life that didn't come when she was young. And she embraced it with a certain openness, and she was a tremendous help to her husband. She was the founder, or the co-founder of this religious tradition that we call Judaism. We see that at a certain point in this journey, she has to pass herself off as Abraham's sister. Then she gets absorbed into a local king's harem. It must have been very frightening for her. We see that she had problems conceiving a child, and she gives her handmaiden, Hagar, to her husband to conceive a child with. And lo and behold, Hagar has a child, a wild, violent young man by the name of Ishmael, who turn around and they mock Hagar, and Ishmael mock poor Sarah, and she has to stand up to them. and she demands that they be sent out of the camp. We know that she did not have the chance to see her child, her one and only child, Isaac, grow into being a man in his own right. She never gets to dance at his wedding, never sees him get married and have children and become a householder of his own. And so it wasn't an easy life. It certainly had its great accomplishments. She and her husband became the leaders of a great clan. They were wealthy, they were powerful, they were influential, and her influence certainly continued not just through her life, not through just the biblical period, but even today. I think that we learn so much from Sarah's life. We learn that we must be open and enthusiastic and avoid cynicism at all times, to avoid losing that sense of adventure, that sense of faith and openness to new stages of life. Sarah, we are told, lived 127 years. Would it be that would be said about all of us, whether we live a long time or a short amount of time or shorter lifespan, that at the end of our lives someone might say to us, he or she lived so many years openly and with faith and with great gusto. Shabbat Shalom.